It's been an action-packed year for microalgae expert TerraVia, formerly known as Solazyme, which has recently unveiled plans to spin off its industrial products division and focus exclusively on food, feed and personal care. I'm here at the IFT show in Chicago and I'm joined by Chief Executive Jonathan Wolfson. Okay, so let's talk about the opportunities in food, starting with Thrive Culinary Algae Oil. So that's your first consumer-facing product. Is this a kind of niche sideline to prove to prospective food industry clients that consumers are cool about eating algae, or is this potentially a sizable consumer brand in its own right?
So as we think about Thrive Culinary Algae Oil, which is our first consumer food product from algae, we really had two missions, and one of them was to animate algae food for people so that they could really grasp it. The number of times we walked into a room with chefs and started to talk about the oil where they didn't quite get it, and then we could pull out a bottle of a product that's actually selling in a store down the street and let them take it home and cook with it, all of a sudden light bulbs go off. So it has a really phenomenal animating effect, which was part of it, but we also believe strongly that it has an opportunity to be a very large brand. We've only been in the market now for about 8 or 9 months, and we've seen very rapid acceptance. We had a phenomenal test market in Southern California that's now expanded to about 4 or 5 retailers. We're going to be announcing some larger retailers soon as well. And the excitement for the product, I mean, if you go look on Amazon, I mean, it's a 5-star product on Amazon.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's got some good reviews.
Yeah, and people really love it. And I'm excited about the prospects for it as a brand as well. But it was important to animate.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about ingredients then. You've got Algae lipid and protein powders and also the Algae oils.
Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest commercial opportunities in that ingredients portfolio?
You know, it's funny. I have a couple of children, and none of them are my favorites. They're all my favorites. I would put the ingredients the same way. I love the Algae whole algae ingredients. The lipid powder is so truly unique because of its ability to replace things like eggs and butter and dairy fats. So I really, I mean, that one to me is so unique. But it also has its, barrier to entry because people have to find out how to use it, right? Whereas the protein and the oil are things people are really excited about, plant-based proteins. So giving them a new plant-based protein that has natural encapsulation, so you can get a lot more protein in, has a super neutral flavor that's much better than most of the plant proteins out there. And then the oils, people know how to use oil, so the barrier there is a lot lower, and we're bringing them what I think is the best oil for your heart. It's the highest level of monounsaturated fat, lowest level of saturated fat, incredibly high smoke point, very sustainable, very neutral. It's the culinary community that seems to be pulling it in, as a matter of fact. But I don't know that any of them are pulling a lot more weight than the others right now.
So give me a sense of how far along they are kind of commercially. Are there now a lot of products or many products on the market actually containing these ingredients?
Yeah, so if you took all of them, the 3 that we just talked about principally, I'd say you could find them in about 10 aisles of the grocery store today. So I mean, we're not in, I wouldn't say we're in hundreds of products yet, but we're certainly in many dozens, I would say, and some of them actually are pretty high volume. So we're working, and probably truly exciting for me is, we've only had regulatory approvals for these products, a lot of them for 12 to 18 months. And as you well know, in the food industry, a lot of these development cycles are 2 or 3 years. So the number of products with big food companies that are coming in a later stage now is really exciting to me.
So a lot of the companies at this show, there's a lot of pea protein based companies, for example, and consumers maybe see that as a positive thing on the label. How do consumers view sort of algae on a label? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
We had to, as you would imagine, do a whole lot of consumer work with respect to algae, and the results have been really, really surprising. What we've basically seen with no education, we've seen a better than 50% kind of acceptance, and then with 1 or even 2 sentences of education without trying a product, you get up into the 90s in terms of acceptance. So that's then been tested again and again by some of the companies that are using the ingredients, and you have companies that are actually advertising algae on the label as a pull-in. So I actually see it as a big opportunity.
Yeah, because I wanted to kind of expand on it. I mean, think of a company like Hampton Creek, which could have just been another egg replacement firm when it started, but it kind of developed an almost cult-like following because it positioned itself as a mission-driven brand, and it was fixing the food system. But it also built, a successful consumer brand as well, Just Mayo. Do you feel that you can do the same kind of job, for Algae?
So Hampton Creek's a great company, and there's a lot of companies doing really interesting work. What we're doing is a little different, because what we're doing, if you think about the world of food, the food scientists have been working with the same palette for many, many years of ingredients. And what we've done is we've brought them a new palette of ingredients that they haven't had before. And when you talk about changing food systems, I kind of call it a table with 4 legs and a top. And the 4 legs for me are feeding more people with the same land, and we've demonstrated we can make more oil per acre or hectare than any other process. We can make more protein per acre than any other plant-based process, and orders of magnitude versus animal proteins. Then you look at environmental impact, and we can do it. We can make oil with a lower carbon impact than any oil that's out there. We can do it with less water, and the same for protein. Then the kind of third leg for me is nutrition. And well, we talked about the nutritional profile of the oil. It's just completely disruptively differentiated. And then the final products, when you use the Algae protein and lipid powder, are much healthier than what they're replacing. So we come in with a big nutritional advantage, and the fourth leg is economic accessibility. If you can provide all the others, but if you don't make it economically accessible, and that's what spending the last almost 14 years building manufacturing plants and all these things has really enabled. You can actually get cost and use improvements using the products, and so those are the 4 legs. And then sitting on top, the tabletop, is amazing taste and texture.
Okay, so final question. You've got on your stand today some algae butter. Is that on the market yet, or are you giving us a glimpse of what you will be launching in future?
We're giving you a glimpse.
Right.
So to be clear, what you're looking at here with algae butter is something we've talked about a little bit publicly, but if you think about structuring fats, you think about whether it's confectionery, whether for things like cocoa butter, extenders or replacers.
So harder fats.
Yeah, but fats with a really unique melting profile, right? Because think about chocolate. Think about this very narrow melting band for chocolate that gives you this incredible, smooth, creamy melt on your tongue with a really good chocolate. And right now, you get that from cocoa butter. And then some ways that people get there are doing things like taking 7 shea nuts and concentrating them into shea stearin. Expensive, difficult, hard to do, and what we've done is algae are these incredible oil producers, and we've optimized them to make truly unique oils that come right out of the algae. We don't have to do any chemical modifications to get these really unique melting profiles, and it's important for confectionery in a world where we're going to be short cocoa butter, where we're already short shea and other things. And the other thing we can do is we can give you a whole host of really precise melting curves. So I actually think it's going to be very big, and other areas people don't think about, something like a croissant, a laminating fat for bakery.